I would say yes.
I would say definitely yes, and yes, it should be compulsory, because just like any other career option, entrepreneurship is a career option.
Yeah.
And I think the more we have our children and our kids aware that there is another option as opposed to what we would call, you know, mainstream, there are so many other options such as entrepreneurship, so definitely.
Entle Kebashi's business there, she's a fashion designer of Entle Babes Couture. I mean, at a very young age, to be able to foster and nurture that kind of talent is probably something we should be doing across the board. Not everybody is going to leave high school and then get into, you know, university, get into a job right after that. And this is the kind of sentiment we should be looking after across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, the beauty of it is actually very, very beautiful. So well done, young lady. The beauty of it is I always you know, parallel it to whatever the kids are exposed to, what somebody's exposed to, they become used to, and then they have an option to choose, is this what I actually want to do or what I don't want to do. Yeah. And the problem we've had in the past, we have not given our children enough exposure to such opportunities. And I mean, just like if you look at musicians, if you ask them, when did you start singing, or artists, when did you start singing, when did you start acting, they tell you they've been doing it from a very young age. So why do we wait until post-matric to say, oh, by the way, you need to start a business because, you know? So it's definitely something that we should be encouraging with our kids from a very young age. And as parents, you know, try and create options for them. Let them, the more they get used to that environment of whether it's making and trading or a service and trading, and then what does that mean afterwards? You know, those are the lessons. And whether it succeeds or fails, it's part of the lesson.
And it certainly doesn't detract from the fact that even if you do fail, if you start failing from a young age, you're sort of used to it by the time you grow older. Now you're able to go right through it and work beyond that stage, right? How do you make sure that it doesn't get lost in the system, though? Something like what Entle is doing doesn't get, you know, she doesn't get older and start losing sight of the ultimate dream and the ultimate goal and get lost in the system all over again.
Just like every dream and just like every goal, I think it needs to be harnessed in the same way. If she does decide further down the line this is not what she wants to do, then that's okay. Yeah. Because what we want to do, we want those who want to do it to have the opportunity to do it, because that's where the best entrepreneurs are going to come from. So for me, it's really about them having had the opportunity and the exposure. How we don't lose it in the system, we have to mentor them, we have to coach them. You know, harness it just like we harness any other passion and any other gift that our kids have. You know, we go to soccer matches, we spur them on. So it is exactly that. It's a lifestyle thing. I really, really believe that it's a lifestyle thing, and children learn from what they see and what they experience and what they're exposed to. Yeah. You know?
If parents are looking for help in this regard, in getting their child to perhaps understand the world of business, the world of starting their own sort of trade, you know, entrepreneurship as well, can they perhaps get help? Because that's also something where parents say to themselves, look, my child wants to get into this business, but I don't know how to help them. You know, is there somebody else that perhaps can do that? Do you think those are perhaps a whole lot more prevalent? Is it a whole lot more difficult to find that kind of help?
You raise a very important point. And yes, as a practitioner in the industry, it is a bit difficult to find that kind of help, because the parents are not necessarily entrepreneurial as well. Exactly. You know, they may see the passion, they may see the talent, but they think, where do I start? And I think we do have a gap in that space. There is a lot of activity that is happening. It's very nascent, you know, it's still in its early stages, but I think more and more there's a little bit more attention that's been given to children entrepreneurship. So it is a gap in the market that is available to be taken.
Well, there's a hole that you can plug, that you can certainly fill into and certainly help across the way. Your final words perhaps then to parents, your final words to children who are perhaps in that space looking to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs as well, and really looking to themselves to say, where to from here? Where do I go to? How do I make sure that I continue this dream?
I think for the parents, I'd really like to say, if you feel like you're not entrepreneurial, not all is lost. What you need to do is make sure you give them exposure. There's quite a lot of exposure, whether it's via, you know, some shows on TV, what is accessible on the internet. There's a lot of expos, there's a lot of trade shows. Give your children opportunities to be able to attend those things, because then that way they are also, it's an extension of some of the learning that they can have. And to the parents that are entrepreneurial, let them tag along, let them make the mistakes, because I think the entrepreneurial parents think, you know, it hasn't been the easiest journey and they have their own insecurities. Let them go for it, let them give it a try, let them tag along. They get to learn from an earlier stage. And if you can see, I mean, the children who eventually adopted and take it on are people who who've seen it and who've then realized this is actually what I'd like to do, and they've been exposed to it. So it's really about that, and that's what I'd encourage the parents. There's no lost hope for anyone.
Abigail, really appreciate your time and appreciate you doing this for us and joining us as we perhaps unpack that journey a whole lot more. It is time up now for us to wrap. I'll be back with more news at the top of the hour. Of course, your weather